Moving pictures and just lets us realize how dire the situation is. Very fluid and everything is happening in quick time as a convoy of Russian trucks headed to the Ukrainian capital, and the standoff continues. And we'll continue the discussion because we have Nigeria directly involved in this, where its citizens, at least 5,000 of them, are trapped in Ukraine. The government says beginning from tomorrow an evacuation will begin, and we have people who are in Ukraine, in the United States, who are going to be providing us analysis of what is happening on our special the Russia-Ukraine war. Sean.
Yes, and the situation is getting, more serious. Many people had expressed optimism that after the talks between Russia and Ukraine on Monday, that there could be a light at the end of the tunnel. But it seems as if there could still be a very long road to freedom, a very long walk, as it will be unless something happens in a few days to come. United States intelligence informs the world that in just a couple of hours, if not minutes now, that the entire might of the gun, let me say the war in a convoy, the hardware that was being moved by Russia, could hit Kiev. The Ukrainian military and the other volunteers have been holding the capital city, to ensure that things really work. And it's very important that at this point in time that the world keeps praying for Ukraine to get back on its feet. If you're watching closely on Monday, the United Nations General Assembly held an emergency session for the first time since 1982 to take a look at what is going on in Ukraine. And I did listen to the United Nations ambassador Ukrainian ambassador to United Nations, who talked about several things, asked big questions that couldn't even get an answer from the entire people there. He asked if at any point in time United Nations made Russia head of dismantled the Soviet Union, that's what it's been carrying out to do. The Russia has a veto power in the United Nations permanent seat and can really veto anything when they want to do so. I also watched an interview with a former Lithuanian president where she said, well, the way the world will handle the war in Ukraine will determine what happens in the Baltic, because many countries there are worried about what could happen in years to come. It came with Georgia, it came with the Crimea, now it is Ukraine. If Ukraine goes the way of Russia, there may be a new world order.
Absolutely, and plenty for us to think. I'm just going through the map of Ukraine, and on the western, on the eastern flank, you've got Russia, gladly almost getting to the southern part, and into the western parts of Ukraine, you have Poland and you have Hungary. Hungary is where you have now escape route for refugees. There you have on your screen. Poland on the left side, which is the western flank, and then you have Slovakia. But our concern now is with Poland and Romania. But joining us now to continue this analysis of what lies ahead for us as a people, we have Blessing. Blessing, great to have you join us again today. Blessing, if you can hear us, let's get your feedback.
All right.
Blessing, are you there? Okay, while we try and fix that, I guess she's just coming in because we're going to need, she's got vast experience as a military pilot, with helicopters and aviation. So we did see a little of that, when she was talking about the fact that they could get a private jet in there, and then she'll probably help us explain the areas which are occupied by the Russians and then the Ukrainian forces, where they are, and the state, the areas they're in, and where people who are trying to find their way out. I understand we have a clip. All right, it looks like we have Blessing back now. Blessing, great to have you join us. Brilliant.
Okay. So let me make a correction. I'm not a military helicopter pilot.
Ah, okay.
I'm actually a helicopter pilot. So I'm the college professor as well. And an aviation broker. So I sell private jets. So I know a lot about aircraft.
Great.
Because I studied aircraft and rocket design engineering. So I know a lot about.
All right, brilliant, brilliant. We're going to put up that map now. The map which has where you have the Russians and where you have the Ukrainians also too. Maybe you walk us through it and see what are the chances. Yes, you talked about something being mission impossible for the thousands of Nigerians who are trapped, who will have to make their way to the border. So maybe you walk us through it, and then we can then see what we need to do. If we can get that map on the screen for Blessing, it would be great, so that she can help us understand how dire the situation is as we begin to plan the evacuation of the Nigerians in Ukraine. All right. While we wait for the map, we can go ahead.
All right. I mean, there will be some other points that. Okay.
Right. Great. So
so this map, it's a Ukrainian political map showing all the boundaries and all the countries around Ukraine. If you could see the map, you have the red sections, which I marked, where the first one, Kharkov, or also known as Kharkiv, some people pronounce it that way. It's where my brothers are. Then you have Kiev, which is the capital. So Kharkov was the former capital, Kiev, which is the capital. Then you have Lviv, and then you have a city called, let me see, because I can't see the map clearly from your end. So let me make it bigger on my own part.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the dark section of the map, there you have, so you see the place called Lviv. In that section, you have, that is where most Nigerians go to if they are heading to Poland. So it's more like a hub for travelers. Can you please go back to the map? It's more like a hub for travelers. You see where the green section, where you have Lviv. So if you're traveling from Kiev, the capital, you have to stop over at Lviv. You have to stop over at Lviv. And then you have Ternopil. That's where most Nigerians study in Ternopil. And then let's start with my brothers are in Kharkov, and they have to go to either Romania, which is downwards, or they have to go to Uzhgorod. They have to either get to Uzhgorod to get to Romania, or they get to Odessa. So Odessa is downwards near Romania, which is circled in red. And you see, it takes, by road, it will take like 13 or 14 hours. By train, it will take 21 or 22 hours. But since the war started, it will take 24 hours or more for the person to go from Kharkov to Romania, or to go from Kharkov to, let's say, even Lviv, or let's say the person is going to Poland. And then now they have an issue here in Lviv. The war is not so intense like every other city, because it's moving outside where the Russians are concentrating on. Right now, as of yesterday, there was a whole lot of bomb blast in Kharkov. So it's two things. The Russians, if they can take either of Kiev or Kharkov, that means they have a chance of winning the war. But if they cannot take those strongholds or those cities, it's going to be difficult. We had a situation where in Kiev, there was when they had the bomb blast, what actually happened, the bomb blast, it destroyed the biggest aircraft in the world, which is known as Antonov 225. And that was a great loss for the Ukrainians. And then you have what we call Sumy. So Sumy is upwards. If you see, Kharkov is, the border between Kharkov and Russia is Moscow. So Kharkov shares a boundary with Russia. And you have Sumy, where 539 Nigerian students are stranded. You have, they can't move forward, they can't move backward, because an incident happened where the Ukrainians have changed their strategic military fighting into what we call the guerrilla fight, where they blew themselves up. They walked to the Russian camp and they blew themselves up. And so at that point, one of the soldiers went to the bridge that connects the city out to other cities and blew himself up with a Russian truck. So in order for the Russians not to invade. So right now, people in Sumi are stopped, meaning they can't go out, nobody can come in. The other side, which they share boundaries with Russia, they are fighting. That's where the Ukrainians are concentrating, fighting with them. And there are some Nigerian students who are really in difficult times. Because for the past 2 days, from Monday to, Sunday to Monday, there was a serious fighting in Kharkov where they were blowing up the central city, blowing up places. In fact, my younger brother, I spoke to him this morning. They are about to evacuate Kharkov because it was really bad. He said the building they've been shaking. Like you could feel the vibration like they're about to collapse. And the Ukrainians now have stopped selling to foreigners. So they have to hoard whatever food they have, which is devastating. That means they are not even selling water to foreigners. So it's not even all about being black. Once you're a foreigner, that is it. They will only give maybe the Indians because they are kind of the same color with them. Then you have things in Lviv. So you see, Lviv, like I said, the children or the students or whoever is moving or transiting, even if you live Kiev, you cannot even go to some other cities which is close to Lviv, which is easier before. Now you have to go round all the way around. So you have to go to other cities like Ternopil, you have to go to maybe even close to Belarus before you get to Lviv.
Okay.
And so now what the Ukrainian governments are doing, they make free transportation by train only for 2 cities, Lviv or what I think they have it of Venetia. So those are the 2 places.
You took that from me because
So
I actually wanted to ask about the welfare of your brothers that are still there. You just mentioned that a while ago that the building where they were having the shelter was practically shaking. How are they at this moment, and what are they planning to do?
Right now, I won't say they are fine because they are not. The younger one is he's really furious, and presently among the group of Nigerians which he is with, he's the oldest that have stayed his longest person that stayed in Ukraine. So the other ones are actually depending on him, which is a lot for him to carry because the older one, my older brother, which is who's senior to him, doesn't really know the environment. He's just 3 months. He doesn't really know the language. So he said to me that most of the students now they're trying to get a bus, which is not safe. But right now the train, there's no hope for them to get trains out of the city. So and the buses are charging $10,000. And now most of the students money can't even be gotten to them by their parents. All the banks are shut down. And so even if you get an ATM, you have to wait for hours and the Ukrainians have to withdraw money first before you. So he was saying to me, he said, so what I did, I asked him to give me the list of all the Nigerians with them and all the Nigerians that are willing to live with them and their parents' number. And today, in fact, I haven't slept. I haven't slept all night. So today I'll take my time to call each of their parents to explain what's going on. And I have this mini group where we organize, where Goodwill Nigerians have been able to contribute money, and also we'll be able to see how to get them money when they leave the city of Kharkov. That means to be able to withdraw or get Nigerians who are outside the city, reach out to them and, withdraw money, get them money somehow, and also send some Nigerians if they could go to Poland, not really Poland, if they could go to Romania and if they could go to Romania or Uzhgorod, or if they should also go to, if they could have any of the Nigerians go to Bulgaria. And presently, there's a situation happening in Bulgaria. We had 105 students who landed in Bulgaria yesterday. Sorry, Hungary, sorry, not Bulgaria, Hungary. They landed there yesterday and they didn't have accommodation. The Nigerian embassy abandoned them. And I think we're supposed to have a lady come in to tell us about her experience, because it was really horrible, because she volunteered, spent her own money, fed almost hundreds of Nigerians in Kiev, moved them to Hungary, and the Nigerian embassies were nowhere to be found. When they spoke to them, they said they only provided accommodation for 40 people, and now you're having 100 and something people. And you see, the fact that we are all Africans, she even took some other Africans with her and said, okay, you know what, we're all blacks, let's go together. You know, I can't just leave you that way. And it was very devastating and very heartbreaking, you know, to know that this fight is intense, and it's like the country don't really care about you at all.
Okay, let me come in here, Blessing. The Nigerian government announced on Monday that plans were on the way from Wednesday to start evacuating Nigerians who were willing to come back home. How much of information do the students you're in touch with who are still trapped in Ukraine and perhaps the neighboring countries have with regards to the plans of the federal government to bring help their way? And how easy is it for them to be able to access this help when it, you know, gets there?
So the thing is, the Nigerian government are going to the neighboring countries around Ukraine. So countries like Hungary, Poland, Moldova, Slovakia, Romania. So going there is not the thing. It's having, before you get there, what happens to those who are there? The embassies, what their function is to be able to take care of the citizens. So what are they doing in order for the citizens to be okay? And for those who are even on their way going, definitely they would meet up, but we'll have situations where 2 are already dead, foreigners are already dead. They have situations where cold is intense. You know, this is not summer, this is winter period. You know, the cold is intense in most of the borders. Hopefully, I just pray the Nigerian government be able to get to those countries. But the thing is, most of the students, some of them are sick, some of them are terrified. And I think at this point in time, it's just to keep good faith, not withstanding whatever is going on, because they know that, but they've been saying that they're going to send an aircraft for the past 1 week now. And Wednesday, and this I also say, they have Nigerian politicians who have private jets. You know, they have they have the wealthiest man in Africa is in Nigeria. Let's take an example for Elon Musk. He didn't wait for America to activate a free satellite X Starlink for the Ukrainians, or what he did, he gave it to them, and he even in 2 days they got it in their country. You know, that's an example of someone who is reaching out to the people, knows that at this point in time, there's no time for promises. Action speaks louder than words. You know, it's very important to take action immediately. And so I would say, even as much as we blame the Nigerian government, who are the governments? The people are the governments. You know, the leaders, who are the leaders, the wealthy people that go to this government parastatals to get contracts. How come they are not reaching out and saying, where are the governors that are saying, vote for me? Why are the governors not reaching out and say, okay, I will send this aircraft to this student while they are trying to deliberate, let me send this immediately, at least to give the people hope. So I really pray that Wednesday, like they say, it happens, because the country that I know, it's not promising.
Listen, absolutely, and we hope that it happens as scheduled, and no one is left behind in this entire mess which is playing out in Ukraine right now. We haven't had a chance to see or understand what the staging post looks like. In this sort of thing, there should be a staging post, so we know where all the Nigerians who are coming in from Ukraine, for example, are stranded. There's some database, for example, letting them know if there's a roll call done. We know who is where and who is not here yet. How many Nigerians have made it through to Hungary or to Romania? You're extending from the map, the country which are bordering Ukraine on the eastern flank. Have you had any?
So right now,
yes, please go ahead.
Yes. So right now, I have a group of people that I'm working with. Those of us that graduated from Ukraine, and I have lots of friends and family there. So we have this little group. In fact, as of 2 days ago, we created a Google group where the people who are in Sumi who are stranded, we ask them to fill their names, their passport numbers, their family contact. So we'll be able to know how many of them are there, because we do not want a situation where I'm speaking by speculation rather than speaking with facts and evidence. In Hungary, we have more than 100-something Nigerians presently there. Their database are being taken as we speak. In Poland, I do not know the amount of Nigerians, but I know foreigners are a whole lot there, and that's why Poland's border is choked up, like it's choked up to the brim. Places like Slovakia, I do not know yet. We are trying to get those databases. Like I said, I do not want to say numbers that are not accurate, or put assumptions or put estimates that are not accurate to what is actually happening or what is there. Then also we have, let me see, Romania. Romania, we have, I think like Ridashim said, they have up to 50 Nigerians or more, because they could go in batches, you know, so they accept these people in batches. They don't just let them come in one time. And when they get there, sometimes they go in another city, which is not the capital, where they don't have the Nigerian embassy. Maybe sleep there overnight, and then they are moved to the Nigerian embassy. So it's a process. So it's like a process getting there. Then the other few Nigerians who are not students, who are families, they try to get accommodation, maybe rent a hotel for them to stay. And one thing I could say, I could really commend a lot of the neighboring countries, even if people are complaining of racism and certain things happening over in the neighboring countries. They've been very friendly. Poland, Romania, Belarus, all the neighboring countries have really been promising to friendly to Nigeria. And there's a situation in Sumi where I think the Russians are saying they will allow Nigerian students pass through their country. So I don't know how safe that will be. So that's another thing where I think the Nigerian Student Association president in Sumi said he spoke to the Nigerian embassy ambassador in Russia, and who was making arrangements to see how the students could move and be able to have an exit through Russia.
All right. At this point in time, I wonder what, for instance, an average parent who has a child or a ward in Ukraine is going through mentally. You yourself, you just said you've not slept, and my daughter also has a friend there. We've been in touch with her, and it's very worrisome at this point in time because we've not heard from her since yesterday afternoon. So many people who have family members and all of that in Ukraine are worried at this point in time. What are you seeing? What are you hearing based on the way the war, the trajectory of the war is moving? Do you see anything, let me say, a resolution in days to come? We hear that Russia and Ukraine should go for another round of talks soon.
Yes, like for the parents, I would say, for me, I'm the first among, let's say, 8 or 9 kids. And what I try to do is I really taken the burden upon myself. So I try to make my mom not feel the tension much. My dad, you know, for them, they're like, okay, Blessing is there, we're fine, whatever she says. So I really don't express how I truly feel inside. I'm the kind of person in chaos, I can be very put together. So, but for some other parents, I have 2 other parents who called and were wailing and crying. She didn't just talk to the child for like 3 hours. And I said to her, look here, this is how it works. You cry, you wail, you show any sense of fear, you're transferring it to your child. You are not giving your child hope. You're making your child feel weak. You're making your child even more frightened, you know? And like I said, when they have contact with these children, take the numbers of the people around them. Make sure you have 3 or 2 numbers of friends around these people. If you ask the children, do you have anybody that's older or Nigerians among you that's older that I can reach out to that person rather than reaching out to the child, expressing how you truly feel inside, because fear, it's one thing that kills first before actual death. You know, the fear of I'm going to die, you know. My cousin who is in Poland right now, and I think she's on her way to Germany today, she said to me, she's 18, and she said to me, Auntie, I was afraid I was worried, I was thinking, and I'm like, what are you thinking? You don't pay your bills? And she said, no, I was thinking, supposing I die in this journey. And I'm looking at her like, you don't have a problem. You know, you shouldn't think that way. Just have a positive mindset. And the thing is, presently, as of yesterday, the president of Ukraine signed the EU application for membership, which is a good thing. So, which is a sign of hope. And also, under the martial law, the Ukrainian prisoners are being, with real combat experience, will be released and sent to the hotspot of the war as a compensation for their guilt. So it's comforting to know that something is being done on their own side and they are progressing. Like I said, despite the heat has been much, the Ukrainians are really holding on tight. And for the parents, I think most of them to also reach out to the several agents who can also make possibility of knowing the well-beings of their children. So it's not so much of how they feel right now, it's so much of how they handle the issues that's at hand. And it's also a way to also appeal to the Nigerian politicians, the government, those who have finances to help. Please help as much as you can, because some of these parents, they spend their last dime sending their children for a better education in Ukraine. Some of them sold their land, sold their property just to see their children have a brighter future. So, and for those Nigerians who are blaming and saying, oh, why didn't they leave on time? Why didn't they do things? This is not the time to blame people, because you just don't know what a person is going through or what a person is dealing with for them to have their kids go all the way to study abroad. If our educational system was good, we won't have to deal with all we're dealing with right now.
Absolutely, and it's something that we're going to have to think really seriously about. But Leslie, I'm thinking if the evacuation begins tomorrow and your brothers are still trapped in Ukraine, there has to be a way for them to move from Ukraine to the border and then to the staging post where the Nigerians will be evacuated. What's the gameplay?
For me, you see, because I'm also an aviation broker, and I sell private jets and helicopters, and I have clients who have, I'm fortunate to be in this situation where I'm in the aviation industry. I have clients who have private jets, and I have people who have reached out to me and said, Blessing, if you need our help, let us know. But you see, it's not going to be fortunate for other people who don't have these assets like I do, you know. And I also have some few people in Europe, some clients or partners in Europe that are saying, okay, we could see how we could get them. So right now, I'm trying to do as much as I can. I've spoken to one of the agents who is an Indian, and he's saying to me, Blessing, I'll make sure I get them out of Kharkov to a safer city. And so my concern right now, I just need them to leave the former capital, which is Kharkov, to somewhere outside Kharkov, somewhere where they can communicate better. Because for the past 2 days, there's not been light in the university. This is the first time it's happening. There's no light, they can't charge their phone. My brother said there were 11 of them and they only had one phone which was functioning, which had full battery. So I said to him, no, if you have to take a taxi somewhere to charge all your phones, please do. You can't travel without charging your phones. So having faith and holding a positive mindset, because the most important thing at this point in time is to be positive regardless, to see how they move to any of the borders. And once they get there, we'll have few Nigerians or few Ukrainians or even people from, I think he said he's talking to the Romanian ambassador, reach out to them and see how he could move. And him and other students, because I had a situation where the money I sent him, I even had to send him more money. And this young man spent it on the other Nigerians who didn't have money. And I said to him, I'm not a charity organization, but at this point in time, I know it's war. You need to be kind. And I said to him, just make sure all of you are okay. Because right now, it's apart from he's my family, they are my family, my two brothers, Favor and Benedict. The other Nigerians, they are family to me at this point. So I'm saying to him, whatever you guys are doing, please do it together and move together. And so.
All right.
All right. Okay. Blessing. At this point in time, we do hope, we wish your brothers, safety where they are, especially everyone in Ukraine. Our hearts go out to everyone there, hoping that there will be an end to this somebody was going to describe the situation as madness because, I mean, some say it's a needless situation while the Russians can easily justify what happened. Let's talk about the hope, if there is any hint of hope that you have that in days to come, Nigerians, especially foreigners who want to get out of Ukraine to safety, will be able to gain access to that. What are you hearing with regards to those who may not have the opportunity that your brothers do have at this point in time? I may have to navigate their way to the border areas to safety, when what we hear, what we see on television, a lot of destruction, bridges being destroyed, other routes that people would normally take are not safe enough. So how would you advise people to be able to now find the way?
Right now, like I said, I work with other group of people, and we're trying to create a team, and I will have one of them come into the studio and have an interview to give details on how parents who are trying to get funds to their children, parents who are trying to locate their children. We have some few WhatsApp groups that have been organized to be able to create chats and have parents drop their comments. And, like yesterday, we had a parent say, my child has been missing for the past 2 days. I can't reach him. This is the age, this is the picture. And so we begin to circulate it among the right Nigerians and reach out to them. And so even those down the road, we tell them, we send messages to those and say, please let us know your movement. Try to tell us your experience. There's a website that's up where we insist that Nigerians should write about their experience and their journey. And so we're also going to put out account details and account details for parents or people or good Samaritans who want to also reach out and be able to raise funds to be able to get either get them taxis or get them buses, or find a way to organize their movement, or find a way to get them to a spot where they can be moved. So at this point in time, I say they should I think now is going to be the people having to work for themselves. We have a lot of intelligent and brilliant Nigerian youths like myself who could also be of help, and we'll create a platform where you could reach out and bring your own ideas and see how we could migrate these Nigerians who are stuck, or several of them who are on their journey. They say it's a journey of faith. It's a journey of you don't even know the hell. You are going wherever you're heading to, you do not know what lies ahead. You don't know whether there's a bomb blast or a missile coming to hit you. So that's what it's on ground right now. And like I said, I haven't slept for days. I'm working back to back, and I have to mornings. Most times I have to go for my flight training program. And so
go ahead.
We have to go for the flight training program. I think right now I have the lady in Hungary trying to connect with me. Trying to come, and so she'll be able to you'll be able to enlighten us more.
Exactly.
If you guys could please connect her on.
Exactly. So so we'll try, and because I was going to ask you about her short, talk of perfect time.
Yeah, she's on now. She just gave me a call. So if you could please try and connect her on the.
All right. So we'll try. Maybe we'll do this. We'll just come back here for a short while, maybe in a minute, and so she can connect with us, and we can hear the experience happening in Hungary. So we'll get back to Blessing and the Nigerian in Hungary, who's doing a fantastic work. The beautiful side of this story, despite all of the horrible thing that's been happening, is the way people have united, in the entire thing. You've seen young people come together, condemn what is happening. You've seen people offer a helping hand. I mean, people just offering to do anything, volunteering. Even people going back to Ukraine, say we're going to fight, even if our lives are lost in this. People offering their houses, their monies, different things, just to show love that, in the midst of all of this darkness, there can be indeed a glimmer of hope and light.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I was watching, a renowned journalist where she was speaking with journalists. Other journalists were on ground in Kiev and other parts of Ukraine, Lviv, and what have you. And we heard that some Ukrainians that were actually using themselves as a shield for others, getting under the war, trucks,
Yes.
and allowing themselves to be crushed to death, instead of, allowing Russian, warheads to enter the country. And it gets me thinking, takes me back to the question I asked on Monday, that what would you do for your country so much, or what would your country do for you so much that you'd be willing to lay your life, for that country? For our military, once again, we applaud you. I can't imagine what it is like that Nigeria is also going through an insecurity situation in the country. And every day, I want to imagine that many people, maybe one or two people, maybe more, people are willing to lay down their lives to defend this country because they have signed up to it. What about those who did not sign up, to do that? But a situation has brought them to make a choice between life and death to save their country. In all of this, when situations happen, I try to sift the chaff from the wheat, and I like to see lessons learned by nations who are not necessarily going through a war situation as we speak right now. You can tell easily what Ukrainians have experienced as nationals of that country. You can easily tell without even reading through what the country has been like, that the citizens have been taken care of by the government. It may not be 100% all the time. There's no government in place now that the citizens would not criticize, but when basic things are taken care of, citizens will be willing to lay down their lives to really safeguard the sovereignty of such nation. The world stands with Ukraine in this. Of course, if Switzerland of all nations that's always never interfered in anything that has to do with issues between nations, would mete out sanctions against President Putin and his allies, then your guess is as good as mine. In hours to come, eyes will continue. For days to come, eyes will be on Ukraine and in Nigeria. Our students, our children, our wards are there, our relatives are there, and our prayers to be with them. We hope to connect with Blessing in just a moment. Look at what is going on in Ukraine. These are live pictures that were sent in by Nigerians in Ukraine, what they're going through. The weather situation is quite cold, according to reports, and you see border areas. Look at what people have had to deal with.
Absolutely. Horrendous. That's the border post where a lot of people have now made their homes, and some of them traveled for several days, 4 or 5 days just to get to safety. We're also trying to get in touch with Ibrahim Gladys. She's the one Blessing was talking about, who had helped a lot of Nigerian people get into Ukraine. She's a medical student, a medical doctor rather, school also in that region. This is a massive lesson for us, and it's happening just when Nigeria's strike is on. But I understand Ibrahim Gladys has joined the conversation. Great to have you, Gladys, join us this morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Excellent. And you join us from Budapest in Hungary, right?
Yes.
Excellent. We've been hearing some interesting stories happening there. A lot of the Ukrainians, Nigerians in Ukraine who've moved across the border, and the experiences. Blessing was giving us an insight into it, and we wanted to hear exactly what's happening.
Okay. It wasn't really easy for us. We have to travel by train. I learned those of them who went by road, those of them who went with the bus, it was quite difficult for them. But for us, it wasn't that bad. We used the train, got to Uzhgorod. When we got to Uzhgorod, that is like border between Ukraine and Hungary. We went to the train station that will link us to Hungary, and then getting the ticket. We managed to buy the ticket, just like me and three other ladies here, sisters. In fact, the crowd, more than 1 million people, in fact, all blacks, struggling to get their tickets just to leave the country. On getting there, we had to pretend like, okay, we are pregnant. That was the only way they allowed us buy tickets for ourselves and for, in fact, our Nigerian brothers wouldn't even let us buy. Till the soldiers came, they started threatening to shoot. Then the guys were scared, they went backward. And then we, the women, came forward as if we were pregnant, and then they allowed us by for ourselves and our people that we were trying to evacuate from Ukraine. On getting to Hungary, we were stamped into the country. They stamped us into the country, and then we had to wait in the small village where we came in through till the next day morning. Not everyone was able to enter at the same time. We waited for ourselves. When they arrived, we took another train coming to one other city before we finally got to the capital city here. It wasn't a very good experience, like really stressful. But compared to those who went through buses, their experience, I think, is worst.
Gladys, thankfully you made it through there now. Have you been in touch with the Nigerian embassy there? What's the situation like?
All right. When we arrived there, they brought one bus to pick us up. But because I wasn't traveling alone, I was traveling with lots of students. I couldn't leave them, so I had to wait for them. I told the bus they should take the other people. My daughter went, and then they went with some other people. But I was waiting for other students trying to find their way into Hungary. They promised us, they said they had accommodation for us and all that. We managed, they came here, those who came early, there were like 40 of them, they got accommodation quite all right. By the time a lot of Nigerians heard about the news and started coming, we got here, they didn't do any proper arrangement for us. There was no accommodation for us. There was no accommodation. We called them and they would not pick up calls. The hotel management told us like it was just for 40 people they paid. And we kept calling, no one was answering. Then we had to sort for funds and did the accommodation thing ourselves.
All right. So no accommodation, and but are you aware that evacuation plans begin from tomorrow? Any communication from the Nigerian embassy to you about that?
Yeah, my husband told me that. He told me that. So we are waiting to see it happen. So we are waiting. We are on ground waiting. There are a lot of Nigerian students here. This hostel will contain over 400. We are in a hostel accommodation with my family here. So this place will take like 400. It's fully booked. Like 400 Nigerians are in here today in this hostel. So a lot of them are students. They want to go back home. They are waiting. Some of them who have been able to book their flight tickets, they will be going back to Nigeria starting from this night.
Blessing, first of all, I mean, thanks to you for really not leaving those students behind. How many students came with you and your family?
About 100 of them came with us, but we met some of them here, and some are still coming. They've been calling to find out how to go about it. I woke up this morning with more than 500 calls. So I'll start answering those. I don't know, 50 more people.
These rooms are full. We want to thank you so much for such efforts, and please, I mean, as much as you can, get the information across to those that we may not be able to get them to. I know that's what you're doing. Please, we thank you so much for your efforts, Blessing. Regards to your husband as well.
Thank you.
That's Gladys.
Gladys, I beg your pardon. Thank you so much. All right, we'll stay in touch with you and still cross to Blessing. Is Blessing still there? Let's have our closing remarks with her. Blessing. All right, thank you so much for the connection. And at this point in time, we can hear that, for instance, where she is, there is a provision for 400 Nigerians to stay. But the question is, how many Nigerians are coming out the way and how much is being done to ensure that they're taken care of? So, moving forward, what are the expectations in the next 24 hours?
The question to me on Dr. Gladys. Hello.
Hello, Blessing. All right. It's for Blessing,
fine.
please.
So, okay, fine. Gladys, like you heard Gladys say, the accommodation, she provided it for them. She and some other Good Samaritans came together to provide, not the Nigerian government. The Nigerian government did not pay a dime for that 400 students which she's harboring in that hostel.
They paid for 40.
They only provided for 40 students. And so more they are coming because Dr. Gladys graduated from, she stayed in Lugansk and graduated from the medical school there. And she also has a restaurant in Kiev, which she was feeding Nigerians before they even left to this location. So there are a whole lot of Nigerians that are connected with her. And I don't know, we're also trying to work things out and also see how we can also reach out funds to her. Like I said today, we're going to by tomorrow, we create a platform, an account where Goodwill Nigerians and all the politicians and those running for offices could also contribute to helping people like Ms. Gladys and other Good Samaritans that are helping in this fight and in this struggle to migrate the student from wherever they are or help them even move back home. And so it's, for me at this point in time, I would say it's very disappointing and very heartbreaking to see that, like I would say, like